Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com, and we are here today with lesson number 40 in our incredible new tutorial series where you are learning artificial intelligence on the Jetson Nano. I am going to need you to pour yourself a nice big mug of iced coffee. And today I will also be enjoying a nice cup of hot coffee. Yes, it's going to be one of those double coffee days. And I will need you to get out your Jetson Nano gear. And as you're getting your gear out and booted up, as always, I want to give a shout out to you guys who are helping me out over at Patreon. Your support is an incredible encouragement to me to continue to produce this nice, easy to understand material for you to learn from. Those of you who are not helping me out yet, look in the description down below. There is a link over to my Patreon account. Think about hopping on over there and hooking a brother up. But enough of this shameless self-promotion. Let's jump in and talk about what we are going to learn today. If my memory serves me correctly, and usually it does, I do believe in lesson number 39, I left you with a homework assignment. And what the homework assignment was to come in and further train your program. So when we left off in lesson number 39, I believe that we had trained our system on, I believe, let's see, let me get out of your way. It looks like 1, 2, 3 images. We had trained it to recognize Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, and Mike Pence, okay? And then what I had told you to do was to go in and train it for the rest of the known images. And so if we go to face recognize, demo images, and our known people, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 images. And so you were to go in and train it on all of those 7 images. And then once you had done that, play around and see in the unknown images how well it did on facial recognition. So I would imagine, because usually I know what you're going to do before you know what you're going to do. And so I'm going to predict what you guys did. You guys probably came in and you took one of these little training sessions where it's a load and a recognize, kind of load, determine the encodings, load, determine the encodings, and you kind of pasted it for all of those known images. You can do it that way, but that's not the best way to do it. And so what I'm going to do today is, because you see the problem if you do it that way, if you change those images, every time you change those known images, you got to go in and you got to reprogram, and then you haven't looked at it in a few days and you're all confused. So I'm going to show you a little pro tip about a much better way to do it. And so we are going to come over here and we are going to go down into our face recognizer program. We are going to create a nice fresh new program, which I think I will call face recognize, and then I believe we're at 3.py. Okay, hit enter. I touched my face. Can't touch your face. I'll tell you, this coronavirus pandemic, it's just like I keep touching my face. I'm going to try not to touch my face. I got to develop that habit. Okay. But if your nose itches, what do you do? If your eye itches, what do you do? Okay. All right, so let's jump in. I will give you a better view here. Get that out of your way. Make sure that I'm mindful that you can see things good. Might need to move that up just a tad, just a scotch. Okay, do you guys know what a scotch is, what a tad is? Very small amounts. All right, so let's see a better way to train this model. The command is the same. The commands are the same, but we're just going to do it in a more clever way. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is we are going to need to go ahead and import face recognition. Okay, face recognition. We're going to import CV2, and we are going to CV2, and then we are going to import OS. You were not expecting that one, were you? Yeah, OS is an operating system. That's going to give us some commands. It's going to let us kind of automate or more automate the training where we're kind of training it on our known faces. And then just to be good, I like to always print out my CV2 underscore version, just to make sure that I'm operating on the version of OpenCV that I think. Okay, now when we train on our known faces, we're going to need to have an array that we put those encodings into. And so we are going to create an array of encodings, and it's going to be an empty array. Now this will be an array of arrays because an encoding itself is an array. So the first position in encodings is going to be the array of the encoding of the first known, and then an array of the encoding of the second known, and an array of the encoding of the third. Okay, so you can kind of see an encoding is an array that's sort of the training data for one person. And we're going to have more than one person, so we're going to need this array, and we'll put the encodings for all the known people in it. And then we need to know who they are, so we'll put in names, okay? And that's going to start as an empty array too. So we're going to have the person's encoding, and then we're going to have their name, and then the next person encoding and their name, and these two things. So we'll just be populating this thing. Now we need to tell it where our known images are. Okay, where our known images are. And I find these paths very hard to do without making a mistake. So I'm going to come back over here, and I'm going to go to our demo images, right? That is, let's just start back all the way at home, and we know that we've got a desktop, and then we know we have our PyPro folder, and then remember we created the face recognizer, and then we have the demo images, and then here is known. Okay, here is known. I want the path to that, so I'm going to say properties, and then under parent folder, well, I'll have to add known to it, but under parent folder, let's see if I can grab that. Select all. If I right mouse click, I can select all. Right mouse click again, I can select copy. That will take us to the parent folder, and so we'll go ahead and do that. And I'm going to say that my image directory, image underscore dir is equal to, and then I will just Control V, paste in that path, and then the actual folder was known. Okay, so now I have a starting place. I'm going to look in that known. Now you're going to learn something new. What would you like to do in known? You would like to walk your way through every file in known. And as you walk your way through every file in known, what you would like to do is you would like to load the file, and then you would like to do the face encoding, and then you would like to get the name, and then you would like to fill in these encodings and these names. And so you would like to be able to do that in a for loop, right? Instead of having all these things that you manually enter it, you would like to step through. So let's see how we would step through. We could say for, okay, and the way this works is it's a new command called walk, where you walk through. Well, what it's going to do is it's going to return to you the directory that you're in, your home directory, the directory that you're starting in. And so for us, that would be our known directory. Okay, and so it's gonna start there, root, okay, and then it's gonna give you the directories and then the files. Okay, so you think the directory that I'm starting in, that's the root, then a list of all the directories that are inside that folder. For us, we don't have any more, and then a list of all the files. And how do we do that? Well, you say in os, that's that library we just loaded, and the command is walk. Okay, and you got to tell it, where do you want to walk through? Well, image directory. So what this is going to do is it's going to start in this image directory, and then it's going to walk through all the files, and it's going to walk through all the directories, and then it's going to walk through all the directories in all the directories and all the directories and all the directories. And so it's just going to walk through your entire file structure. So this thing is way more powerful than what we're doing, because really we've got to put in the root, the directories, and the files, but really the only thing that we're going to be walking through is the files, because we don't have any folders inside of this known, but we could walk through much more complicated structures than this. And so this, the root is not going to change. The dirs, or the directories, are going to be empty because there's no directories inside of our root, and our root is this known folder here. Okay, but what it will do is it will walk through the files. That is going to be pretty cool. Okay, now what I'm going to need to do is that, so this is going to give me all the files. So this image directory, this is going to give me not one file, but it's going to give me a list of all the files that are inside of image dir, and that will be my root. So this files is going to be an array, and it's going to be an array of all of the files in image dir. And let's just see that. Okay, let's just see that. So let's just say print files. Let's just see what that does. Run Python file in terminal. I apologize, this takes, I'm still on Python 2.7 frame of mind. You got to use parentheses in 3.6. Okay, so let's try this. And guys, it's kind of sad, but this takes a long time. Okay, look at that. So this is inside my known folders, my known folder, and it returns to me all the files. Okay, you see all these file names. Well, what do I want to do now? I have all these files. Now that I have all these files, what do I want to do? Well, I want to step through them. So for an individual file in files, that's that array. So I'm going to step through that files array. And then what am I going to want to do? Well, I'm going to want to create the actual complete path with the file name. So I've got the path and I've got the file name, but what do I need to do? Well, I need to say that the path, which would be the path with the file name appended, is going to be equal to os.path.join. And then what do I want to join? I want to join the root and the file. Okay, now let's see if this makes sense. What is the root? The root is going to be this, but what is missing? The slash in the file name. Well, the file name is in here, so as I step through, the first time through, it is going to append Paul McWhorter to this, and then Chase to this. And so let's go ahead and print that out. So now what we are going to do is print, and let's just print path. And this should now give me a list of the full path with the file name, if I'm thinking about this right. This is very powerful. You guys spend some time. You want to understand this. You don't want to just copy what I'm doing. You want to really understand it. Okay, look at this. So what we started with, I'm going to let you see a little bit bigger of this. Okay, so what we started with was a list of the file names. We step through those file names and we add the path to it. Okay, so now I have the full path with the file name. That is pretty cool. So what can I do now? Well, I can get a name. Okay, the name is going to be os.path, and then what do I want to do? Dot split text of file. Okay, and then what do I want? I want the first position. And what this should do is this split text should give me, remember, file is just something like Paul space McWhorter.jpg. I am going to do a split text on that, and then I'm going to take the first position. That should just be the name without the .jpg. So if I print this, what this should print is, this should just print the name without the .jpg. So you can see now when we were training, that's why I put the proper name as the file name, because now we can get those names for free. So let's try running this. Does that make sense what we're doing? We're trying to build this thing. Whoa! Oh, I've got a name is equal to os.path.split. Ah! Those crazy guys made split text with one T. It's a shared T. Let's try this. You guys following along? Okay, look at this. So now it will print the full path to the file that you want, and then it creates the name for that person by stripping the name off the file name. So we can see that this is the path with the file, and then this is the person. You see, this is going to be, we're in the process of automating this training. Okay, so now what do we really want to do? Now we want to load that person. We want to load that image. Okay, so person, and remember we're doing the load with the facial recognition library, not with the OpenCV library. So we're going to say that the person is face recognition. Okay, and then what do we want to do? We want to do dot load image file, load underscore image underscore file, and then what do we want to load? Do we want to load the name or the path? We want to load the path, okay, because that has the full path and the file name. So now I'm actually loading the picture. Does that make sense? I hope so. Now what do we want to do? Well, we want to encode it. So encoding, so I'm going to have the encoding is going to be equal to face recognition, face underscore recognition dot face encodings, and then I want to encode who? The person that I just loaded. And then if you remember, this actually returns an array because it's looking for multiple faces. And so since this just has one face, it's going to still return an array. And so we want to just go ahead and take the first one, and then that will just make it just a normal array, not an array in an array, if that makes sense, okay? And now, what do we want to do? Well, we have these encodings where we want to have the encodings of all the people that we know. And so I need to go encodings, the array dot append. I want to put this new encoding into my main training array, which is called encodings. And similarly, I need to keep track of who's who, so I need to do names dot append. And what, excuse me, what do I append here? Name. Okay, so it's the person's name in the names array, and then the that person's encoding in the encoding array. And do you see how it's two arrays, but the positions are all lined up? Okay, so now we have that, and wow, you know what? I think that now I should have this whole thing trained. Let me just print now names. And this should be the array with all the people's names. And look at this. Okay, run Python file in terminal. Guys, on programs like this, it's good to put these print statements in and check them as you're going. And that way, when you have something that doesn't work, you can you're going step by step, and you can go back to the last thing that worked. And so as we go through this, I want to make sure that each one of these works. All right, now that we're doing these encodings, this thing is running a lot slow because it's loading the picture and then it's chewing on it, learning who that person is. And so that is taking a little bit longer to do that. Okay, and then who did it learn? Paul McWhorter, Chase, Donald Trump, Ronald Reagan, Nancy Pelosi, Charlton Heston, and Mike Pence. Okay, so now this model is trained. It knows all the people who are in the known folder. If you want to learn more people, you put more known people in the known folder, and you name your file, you name the file that person's name. Okay, pretty clever, huh? So now what we need to do is remember, we're going to have to do a little bookkeeping here. Remember, later on we're going to put a label on the people. So we need to go ahead and set up a font now before we go into our loops. And so our font is going to be equal to CV2.font uppercase underscore HERSHEY underscore SIMPLEX. Now you can play around with different fonts. This is just a pretty simple one. Okay. Now, what image do we want to study? Our model is trained. What image do we want to study? Well, I think I'm going to do test image is equal to face recognition dot load image file. Okay, so we're going to load an image. Now, are we going to load a known or an unknown? We're going to load an unknown because we've already done the knowns. That was training. Now we're going to look at a picture we haven't seen before and see if we can figure out who it is. Again, I love copying the paths because it's just too hard to try to type them in right. So we're going to go to desktop. We're going to go to PiPro. We are going to go to face recognizer. We're going to go to demo images. And then do we want known or unknown? We want unknown. And then let's look at this number 12 here. Okay, I think I am going to do number 12, and I'm going to right mouse click on it and properties, and then I'm going to point here at the parent folder, right mouse click, select all, and then copy. And just remember, this is unknown 12, U12. Okay, so if I come here, I'm going to paste. I'm going to put paste inside of a semicolon. And then I'm going to paste, and that gets me all the way to the unknown folder, and then I'm just going to go, that was u12.jpg. So that is the file that we are going to study. So I've loaded it. Once I've loaded it, what do I need to do? Well, I need to find the faces in that picture. So I'm going to say face positions. Why is face positions plural? Because there could be more than one face in there, and it's going to return to me an array of the face locations of the first face, the face locations of the second face, the face locations of the third face. Okay, so face positions plural. Okay, face positions is equal to face recognition dot face underscore locations. Okay, and then I want to find the face locations in which image? The one I just loaded, test image. All right, so now this isn't recognizing anything, but it's just saying there's a face here, there's a face here, there's a face here. So it will give me an array of those corners of the boxes of where the faces are. Okay, and so now I have those locations. All right, and now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to do the learning. I want to find the encoding on each face. Okay, so this is going to be all encodings. Why? Because this command will give you the encoding inside of each one of those boxes. Okay, so all encodings is equal to face recognition dot face encodings. Okay, and then you've got to send it, what file do you want to look at? Test image, and then you've got to send it the face positions. Okay, face positions. All right, now let's think about this. Face positions is an array of the face positions. I pass it that, and I pass it the image, and it looks in each one of those locations, and it generates an encoding. Okay, and then it puts all of those encodings in this array, which is all encodings. Does that make sense? Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, we're done doing the recognition work, and we're going to want to print this image out later. We're going to want to show it. Do you remember that the face recognition load image file? Do you remember that is in the RGB color space? And our friends at OpenCV decided to use the BGR color space. So since we're going to be displaying these things using OpenCV, we need to go ahead and we need to get ready for that by saying test image is equal to cv2 dot cvt uppercase COLOR. So we're going to convert color of test image to cv2 dot all uppercase COLOR underscore. We're in RGB and then 2 BGR. So we're just taking test image and converting it to BGR. So now it'll be all happy when it's working inside of OpenCV. Okay, so let's see. That all looks pretty good. That all looks pretty good. So now, what do we want to do? Well, we want to step through that image, test image, and for each face, we want to see if it matches something that we know. Okay, so we want to compare those all encodings. We want to compare those with our training encodings. So in order to do that, we can't just do it once because there could be multiple faces we've got to step through. Okay, so we're going to step through 4, and we're going to go top, comma, right, comma, bottom, comma, left, because that's the order that the face encoding is going to be in. So we got to go top, right, bottom, left. Okay, and so those are the positions, and then also face encoding. All right, in. And since we're stepping through kind of 2 groups, we've got to do a what? Do you remember from last time? We got a zip is the command that allows us to step through 2 things. And we want to zip what we're stepping through: face positions, plural, right? Face positions we got up here, all right? Face positions is an array. We're going to step through that array, and that's going to give us top, right, bottom, left. And then we're also going to step through what? We're also going to step through all encodings. Okay, so the all encodings go with the face positions, and we're going to step through them. So each time through, I'm going to have a position, and that position's face encoding. Okay, so now we'll put a colon there, and now we come back. So what do we need to know? Well, you got to remember that it might not recognize anyone, and if it doesn't recognize anyone, you still need to put a name on it. So I'm just going to say name is equal to unknown person. Okay. Now, most of the time it'll recognize something, and when it does, it'll change name. But if it doesn't recognize anything, at least we have a name, unknown person. And then what we are going to want to do is, let's see here. We're going to want to look for matches. Wow, that was really bad. Okay, so now we've set the name there. Now we want to look for matches, okay? And matches is equal to, matches is going to be equal to face recognition. Do you remember this from last time? And what are we going to do? We're going to compare faces, okay? And what do we want to do? We want to compare the things we know. All the things we know is encodings with what? That last encoding that we did, which will be face encoding. Now this face encoding is one face from the unknown image. So here we're stepping through the unknown image, and the face that we're on will be in face encoding. So we're comparing all of our known faces with this particular face in our particular unknown image that we're studying. Okay, if this doesn't make sense, go back and look at it from the last week. Okay, so that will find the matches. And now we got to see, were there any matches? Well, we want to see if there's any trues in matches. Okay, so matches will tag true when it sees that one of our, when it sees if our face position, if our face encoding from the present face matches any of the faces that we know which are in encodings, it'll tag it. So if true is anywhere in matches, then what we want to do is just say first match index, first match index is equal to matches.index index true. So like, what position in the list did it find a true? We're putting that in the match index. And then what we're going to do is now we're going to tag the name. We're going to grab the name because it will be at that same position. Name, names, okay, of first match index. So now in this unknown picture that I'm looking at and this unknown face that I'm looking at, if there is a match, I get the index and then I grab that name from our names array because it will be at that same index because we've kept things lined up. So, excuse me. So now I have a name. Well, what do I want to do? Well, I want to draw a rectangle now, cv2.rectangle. I want to put a rectangle where? On test image. And then where do I want to put it? Well, I want to go left, comma, top, and then right, comma, bottom. Are you guys noticing that Face Recognizer uses like top right and bottom left, and then OpenCV does top left, bottom right, and so that's why these things are a little bit in a strange order. But OpenCV has top left and bottom right, to where if you looked up here, I believe, where was it? Somewhere up above, what you'll find is it's a little bit different order when we go through things with the Face Recognizer. You see it goes top right, bottom left. You'll get some strange results if you don't understand that those are going in different orders. Okay, so top left, top, right, bottom, and then we need to give it a color. Well, let's give it a red. So that would be 0 blue, 0 green, 255 red, and then let's give it a line weight of 2. Okay, now we need to put a label on it, so we'll say cv2.put text, all right, and then the text that we're going to put it on test image, and then we're going to put the name on there, and then we're going to go to the position left, and then top -6, and so it would be left, and then top -6 would move it up, and so the label doesn't go over the inside of the box, which is kind of nice. And then we got to tell it the font, which we defined above, and then we've got to tell it the font height or size, which I'll put at 0.75, and then we got to give it a font color. I think I'm going to try like an aqua, and that's going to be like, I think I'm going to try yellow, which would be 0,255, 255, and then I will give it a width of 2, kind of a font heaviness of 2. All right, so now we can go ahead. We've got the image, We put boxes around the faces, and we've labeled those boxes. So now I can do a CV2, CV2.im show, and I'll just say picture, and then comma test image, because that should be all ready to go now. And let's go ahead and be good and say CV2.move window, and then we will do a move the picture window. If you don't do this, OpenCV has a way of putting it in the strangest position, so we'll move it always to 0, 0. And now we got to see is if CV2.wait key is equal to 0, or CV wait 2 of 0 is equal to the ord of Q. And so this, it'll show us the image, and then when we hit Q, it will go ahead and drop down. And then what this will be is it'll wait for input, and then when it gets it, it'll see if it's a Q. And if it is a Q, it will be do CV2.destroy all windows. Okay. Now, this we're going to go ahead and run, and it should load, it should train itself. It should load in the unknown image. It should find all of the faces in the unknown image. It should encode the faces in the unknown image, and then it should compare each face to all the ones we know, next face to all the ones we know, and then for all of them it'll box it. For all of them it'll box it. If it doesn't know the person, it'll put unknown, and if it does know the person, it will put their name. What's the chance this is going to run? Hold your breath. There's no way I can hold my breath because it's got to train itself, but hopefully it won't crash. Do you guys think this is kind of clever how we can do this walk command? And what's really cool is if you want to train on a batch of new images, all you got to do is put them in the known folder and name them according to the person who, you know, there would be a good reason that you would already know who those people are because you're putting them in a known folder. Okay, it's going through the training, learning everyone, giving a list of the names that it knows. Oh, face positions is not defined. What is this nonsense in line 28? Face positions. Face positions does not have a T. Did you guys see that? Okay. Run Python file in terminal. Found it pretty quickly, though. That was good. Hopefully you guys were yelling at me. Man, I tune in on the premieres with you guys, and you guys are pretty sharp. You find those errors when I do it, and so that's really good. I don't have the nerve to do something this complicated as a live stream because, you know, it's kind of hard to fake your way out of something if you got an error that you can't find. So we might try it one day just for fun. Okay. Test image. Where is that? Line 35, another, an extra T, test, and it should be an uppercase I do believe. Okay, guys, these are just simple little mistakes. You can be patient with me, right? But man, do you guys see how powerful this os.walk command is? Because there's so many times that you just want to walk through a directory structure and have all the folders and have all the files and then have them in a smart array where then you can kind of do what you want to. And then as you change your directory structure, as you change your files, it'll always kind of update itself and work. Okay. Whoa. Oh man, wait, key is uppercase K. We were so close to having something really good. We made it to the end of the program. So now the program should run without errors. But of course, the real question is going to be whether it actually pops up the window and shows you the faces. It's training, learning all these cool people. The training is done. It's now looking at our test image. Boom! Do you see this? Facial recognition. Uh-huh. Double chest bump. Look at that. Charlton Heston and Ronald Reagan. 2 for the price of 1. Do you see that? Is that like really, really, really cool? And if you look at it, the picture of Charlton Heston was really kind of, it was not real similar to that. Let's look at the Charlton Heston picture that we trained on. We'll go to desktop, go to Pi Pro. I shouldn't kill this window. I should just leave it open. And then known images. The picture of Charlton Heston was when he was a young man in Ben-Hur. And here he's a much older man, but man, that is pretty cool. And then let's look at Reagan. Let's see what we trained on this, and it recognized that. And that is pretty darn good. So let's go back. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to quit out of this. Let's try a different one. Let's look over here at knowns. And let's see. Let's do this U11. Okay, let's do this U11. We're going to come, where was that? Up here. We're going to change that to U11. Okay. Run Python file in terminal. And we're going to see what it does with that one. Okay, it's going through the training. Training is done. Boom! Look at that! 3! Count them 3. Thrice recognized. We have Mike Pence, we have Nancy Pelosi, and we have Donald Trump. Okay, let me try one more. Let's see. I want to try U4. Okay. Why am I using politicians? Because I want to be real careful with copyright, and these are public domain images, and they're people. It's both public domain and people you would recognize. So it's not that I like them. It's not that I don't like them. It's just that I don't want to get in trouble with copyright or get you guys in trouble with copyright. So we're trying to be real careful here. So it's going through the training, and we will give it a second to go through the training. Training is done. It's looking at the image. It's trying to figure out who is who. All right, boom. Okay, look at this. Now, this is kind of interesting. I find this really, really interesting. So, Schumer here, Schumer, he's an unknown, okay? This blurred out person, it's interesting. It recognized that as a person, but unknown. Schumer is unknown. This person is unknown. Nancy Pelosi, it recognized unknown. And then it didn't recognize this guy. It didn't recognize this as a face. Okay, but that is pretty darn impressive. Now, let's just go ahead and try to see if we could train on Schumer. Now, it's kind of hard because he is really not looking at the camera. And so a picture like that is really pretty hard to, it's pretty hard to do. But let's go ahead and just see if we can do it. I don't know how to spell his name. Schumer, Chuck Schumer, S-C-H-U-M-E-R. Okay, let's see if we can find a, maybe we should say Chucky, Charles. Okay, this should be, photo gallery, how about that? We need a picture preferably with just him in it. He needs to have an official portrait is what he needs to have. Ah, that looks... Okay, this is going to be pretty hard, guys. This is going to be pretty hard. Let's try this one. Okay, let's see if I can maybe. That is going to be a known image, right? So we're going to go to demo images and known, and then let's see if we can drag and drop that. I believe that worked. Now we need to rename it because he is known. Rename Chuck. How did we decide to spell his name? S-C-H-U-M-E-R. All right, so that looks good. I have no idea whether this is going to work or not, because that one picture of him, the unknown, was really almost a profile. So I don't know how well it's going to like that or not. Okay, it's starting the recognition. And I think I did leave it set on that. I mean, I did leave it, yeah, on the U4. That's the one we want to look at. Let's see if it can recognize old Chucky. Making our way through the recognitions. Chuck Schumer, it's learning. Whoa! What is that nonsense? Line 18 it doesn't like. Maybe it didn't recognize him as a person, you think? Oh, wait a minute. Did I put that in the wrong one? No. Demo images. Known. Where did I put that? Am I going insane? Oh, there he is. Let's see. That is a pretty small image, and so probably, yeah, that probably it didn't grab him as a face because the image was too small. So let's try to see if we can find a better picture of him, and let's get rid of that one. We will move to trash. It's kind of good when these things happen because you can kind of see what to expect. So let's see. How about official portrait Chuck Schumer. I can't believe I'm spending this much time looking for pictures of Chuck Schumer. Okay. Okay, let's see. This is probably going to be bigger. Okay, I'm going to get like the 800 pixel. Okay, that looks good. Let's see if we can drag that over here. Looks like it went. Okay, our friend the Wikipedia is always a good place to get pictures because they're pretty much, you can find a lot of public domain pictures there. So we are going to rename Chuck Schumer. Okay, so hopefully this time it will recognize him as a human being. That would be nice. So we're going to come here, we're going to right mouse click and run file in terminal. Yeah, I think that it didn't find him as a face, and because it didn't find him as a face, it errored out when it tried to do the encoding because there was nothing there. Hopefully it will work this time. We are stepping our way through. Guys, where are we going to go next with this? Chuck Schumer, don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. Please don't crash. Please don't crash. We're thinking. I think it's thinking longer this time. So that could be good. Boom! Do you see that? Wow, look at that. It found Chucky. We found Chucky. Okay. Is this like, I don't want to find that guy. But unknown Nancy and Chuck. And this is really not at all like that picture that we trained on. And so this is pretty darn good. Okay, pretty darn good. All right, you know what? Now, what is the problem? So there's all these, okay, we've stepped through all of these knowns. But then what do? If we want to look at an unknown, we have to kind of load it, change the program, load it, change the program. Let's see if we could step through these. Okay, let's see if we could step through these. And so what I am going to do is I'm going to see if I can change up this program and add some stuff to it and have us step through the unknowns and show us the unknowns one at a time. And that way you could have one group of knowns, and then your unknowns you could just step through, and then you could find your matches. All right, so this is going to be a lot like what we did before, but now this business, this loading of the test stuff, we're going to have to put that in another one of those walks. Okay, so let's make sure. One thing is that I am going to need a counter, and so I need to go ahead and put in a j equals 0, and that will allow me to kind of count through the pictures later on. So we ought to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to come here and we're going to print the names, and then we're going to set up our font. Okay, just like there, we're going to set up our font. But now everything from here on down, I think maybe I can be clever. Okay, maybe I can be clever. I hate it when I try to be clever because a lot of times it doesn't work. Okay, so I need to go ahead and I need to set up a directory for where I want to walk through again. Just like up here I said image directory. Well, I want to set up image directory again that I want to of what I want to walk through. But this time, what do I want to walk through? I want to walk through unknown. Okay, does that make sense? I want to walk through unknown. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to step. That was not good. Okay, now I'm going to need to step through. Okay, what am I going to step through? Well, I'm going to do the walk. So it's going to give me the root. It's going to give me the directories, which the root is always just where I started. There's not going to be any directories, but I got to put a spot there for it, and then step through the files. Okay, and then in what os.walk, and what do I want to walk through? Image dir for image directory. Okay, so I'm going to walk through that. Okay, now I've got to create that. Okay, but now, okay, so now what I have is I have a list of files. So now I need to walk through those files. So root is always going to be root. There's not any directories, but I got to put a place there. And then what? Okay, and then what I've got to do is I've got to catch all the files. So I'm going to have an array of all the files that are in that unknown folder. Well, I need to step through those files now. So I'm going to say for file singular in files the array. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and print the root just to make sure this looks good, and then I'm going to print the file so I can see where I am. Just would help me in doing it. And now I am going to have, you know, this, I'm going to load this test image now. So I'm going to tab this over so it's inside that second for loop. So now I tab it over so that I'm going to be looping through the images, but I don't want to rewrite all this code. So the test image is going to be face recognition, load image. Okay. Okay, but what I need to do is I need to create that test image now. All right. So test image path. I got to tell it the path to the test image, and that's going to be again os.path.join root and file. Okay, now that is the path That is the path to the image. Okay, now what do I need to do? I need to load it. Let me just call that test image. Okay, so the test image is joining the root with the file, and that should be that long path that goes all the way to the file. And now that I have that, I should load that. Instead of loading this specific one, I will load that one that we just grabbed. Okay, so this is test image, if I'm thinking about this right. So test image, I create the name, and then this is pretty poor. This is not the image, this is the path. Okay, that's the path to the image, test image path, and then I load it into a picture that I call test image. Hopefully I didn't confuse you too much there. Okay, I just loaded it. All right, so now that I have loaded, I now have an image. So now what do I want to do? I've got a test image. What do I want to do? I want to find the face positions. So now I'm just going to tab this over. I'll find the face positions in test image, right? And now I need to encode it. So I'll find the encodings. So you see, this is just what we've done before, but it's now inside of a loop. Okay, it is now inside of a loop. All right. So now all encodings, and let's make sure test image and face positions, and I got face positions. Now I need to take that test image and I need to convert it back to something OpenCV will be happy in. So a lot of this is just kind of tabbing over for right now if I'm careful. Now, so now at this point I'm stepping through the files. Now, as I'm stepping through the files, I also have to step through the faces in a given file. So this will need to be tabbed over inside that for loop, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then first name needs to be inside the if, names needs to be inside the if, and then here I just do that inside the for loop. So most of these here were tabbed over twice. Just make sure you're doing your tabbing exactly the way I am. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to tab this over once and twice, this over twice, this over twice, and this over twice. Okay. I think there's some chance that this would actually work, unless I changed a name in there somewhere. But let's right mouse click and let's go ahead and run Python file in terminal. So guys, hopefully you could see that I was tabbing twice to get underneath the right for loops. Okay, it looks like it's training. Going through the trainings. Okay, boom. The first file that it looked at was an unknown picture of Donald Trump, and it identified him as Donald Trump. Now, if this is behaving the way that I think it should, I should be able to hit Q, and then it should come up with the next image. It recognizes Donald Trump, double thump, double chest bump. Okay, I hit Q again. Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi, and Donald Trump. Q. Okay, you guys see that this is on a big image, this is running slow. So that next image was big, but it does recognize Mike Pence. That was slow because it was a great big picture. It took a while to find the face. So you can imagine, where are we going next with this? Well, the direction we're going towards is live recognition in a video. And we're building up to that, but you can see that we've got it working good, but we're going to have to play around and get things running a lot faster. But to begin with, we just want things to run, okay? Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi. Do you see, I tried to get kind of like a diversity of pictures, and it's really doing a good job with the diversity of pictures and actually recognizing the people that we trained on. Mr. Paul McQuarter, TopTechBoy.com, with one of my students here, and it recognized Chase as Chase and me as me, even though it's kind of a little bit of a fuzzy picture there. And we're waiting. Mike Pence, Donald Trump, very good. Okay, Nancy Pelosi. That looks a lot different than the other pictures, and so that's pretty good. And then Nancy Pelosi, very different picture than what we trained on. That's good. And then we're going to come up to Donald Trump, Mike Pence, and Nancy Pelosi. Very good. We're at 100% so far. Charlton Heston, Ronald Reagan. That's really good. And now look at this. This is the first error that it made. It found the four faces. It knows that it doesn't know him, recognized Mike Pence, but it mistook me for Donald Trump. Happens all the time. I'm often confused with with Donald Trump, but that is really peculiar because I just would not think that it would have picked me over Donald Trump. But nonetheless, that is what happened. And then let's see if there's any more in here. We'll just have to kind of wait for it to show us that it's done. Okay, we got Chucky, the unknown person, and Nancy. And is this like Dennis Hoyer or someone like that? I don't know. And it doesn't recognize him as being a human being, but it does recognize Chucky and Nancy. Okay. And then let's see if there's any more in there. And that's it. The program is done. Okay, so you see, you can go in now. This is so exciting. Is it just me or is this really exciting? You can put your known people in the known. You can put your unknown people in the unknown. And then all you got to do is be sure and label the known people correctly with your file name having the label. And then you can just go to town with this. Is this not neat? Okay. Guys, I am having a lot of fun with this, and like I say, you can see that we're moving towards having live recognition with live video. But the hardest part, we've already done that. Then moving forward is going to be pretty easy, I do believe. Okay, guys, if you guys are enjoying this, give me a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you'll get notifications to my new videos that are loaded. And again, really want to thank you guys that are helping me at Patreon. You're really giving me a huge encouragement and keeping me motivated to keep making these videos. Okay, this is Paul McQuarter from TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.